Well, hello, Gertie. I love your hair. What did you do different?
Well, I have to be honest, right? Honesty is the best policy, okay? Well, I walked into the wigwam.
Awesome.
Obviously, they sell wigs, the wigwam, and a lady that owns it and runs it by the name of Mary Jo. I think you know Mary Jo, too.
I've worked with her.
But I've known her for years, and I walked in and I said, God, is there anything we can do with my hair? Because I don't have thick hair. It's real baby fine and thin and what have you. And she said, I have the perfect solution for you. She says, why don't we just put a wig on? She said, we can do that every show if you want to. And I said, go for it. Give me a little bit of some
I love
pizzazz.
it. Your shirt matches your hair.
Well, that was by design, because if you can see, there are a few little purple highlights in it. It's a darling wig. Wig.
It's adorable.
And I just love that little bit of purple highlights. But I did have to match my wardrobe to go with my new wig. But I love it. So thank you, Mary Jo. I appreciate it. But if I had your hair, I always call your hair the mermaid flowing hair. I wouldn't have to worry about it. But I don't, so here I am. But I'm glad you like it.
Hey, you know what? Technology's nice. We have the technology.
Well, and I have several friends who actually grow their hair for a year at a time so they can cut it and donate it.
Yes, and that's a great cause.
Well, and I learned something from Mary Jo about that, because I have a friend who just had gone in. She had grown her hair for a year because she wanted long hair. And she wanted long hair for her upcoming wedding. Okay?
Oh, right.
So she had this long, beautiful red hair, and of course, at a certain point, we all use a little bit of color, a little bit of help, and she had color in her hair. And I said, well, did you even take it to donate to, what is it called, where they make wigs?
Locks of Love. Locks of Love, yeah.
Locks of Love. And she said, yes, that they used to not take hair that had color on it, but now they are taking hair with color on it because so many people color their hair. So I learned something new. I didn't realize they didn't take that.
It's a wonderful cause. I actually cut people's hair for that reason all the time. They grow it out just to get it cut and donate it.
Wonderful.
If you do get it cut, just a word of advice for anybody that's going to do that is cut it where the strands and the cuticles go the same direction. So keep it in the ponytail and then cut it off. And that will help to keep the hair and the shafts going in the same direction so they can separate it easier.
Which could explain something. She said the reason they had not taken hair with color for all these years because it doesn't stretch when it has color on it. But they're desperate. So anybody out there that can donate and wants to donate to Locks of Love, I'm sure it would be most appreciated.
Yeah.
And I have to tell you, Onea, on our last show when we talked about the book, The Zero Limits by the psychiatrist that wrote it, did you get a lot of responses?
I got so many responses on it. They loved it. They wanted more information. It was a nice response on that.
I think it was probably maybe one of our most popular shows just from a point of interest to everyone watching it.
Point of interest.
Because I did too. I had tons of emails, tons of phone calls, people talking about it, asking about it. And I'm using the mantra.
Yes.
Maybe you should give it one more time.
Well, on the last show we had talked about it's not necessarily a mantra, but it's a cleaning or a clearing. And what you say is, thank you, I love you, please forgive me, and I'm sorry.
Okay.
And it gets you back to zero limits, which is what the book's called. And it just creates you back to a perfect state of habit forming, I guess you could say, or get rid of bad habits.
Right. But people apparently are using it and saying it, which I love it when we have things of interest that actually mean something to people out there.
Well, and we've talked so many times about how powerful words are, how they can now be measured.
Right.
and how it will actually affect your DNA.
And how everything is energy.
Everything's energy.
Which today we're going to talk a little bit more about energy, which we are talking about dowsing,
Yes.
pendulums, and a little bit of kinesiology, right?
Awesome.
How
I think this is
kinesiology
going to be
works.
another
One
exciting
of those
show.
great shows. Well, everybody knows about the ancient art of dowsing. We think everybody knows, but if not, we have a few facts that we'd like to give. And I know that you actually highlighted some stuff here.
Yeah,
Onea.
I highlighted and kind of explain what dowsing is in your words, and then I can kind of read here what we've pulled up.
Well, dowsing is an ancient form, and what most people associate dowsing with is looking for water. It's also called witching. They used to call it witching when somebody they'd take like 2 sticks, and the sticks had to be from a very special tree called the willow tree. And occasionally an elm tree was used, but most often willow twigs were used. And they would
I didn't know
hold
that.
a twig in each hand, or, you know, not just a teeny weeny twig like this, but a nice sized stick, okay? And they would walk around the farms, the ranches, the land, looking for water. And when the tree limbs would, you know, move downward, they knew there was water there. But you can use other things as well. You can use coat hangers, the old metal coat hangers,
Right.
to make your own. But that's more recent stuff that we know about, how water was found. And you've got in here in your notes that it goes way back to
Yeah,
what?
it goes back to the ancient Chinese, the Egyptians. They would use it. They would use it before writing on prehistoric rocks,
Wow.
which I found really fascinating. The other
Wait a minute. They would make markings on the prehistoric
well,
rocks?
right here it says no more than a forked stick or a bent rod as a guide. Prehistoric rock paintings in Algeria suggested that humans doused before they could write.
That's going back.
That goes way back.
Way back.
So, you know, the thing that always entertains me, I guess, is we think,
It's me.
which
Yeah.
is you, and the fact that we feel like we're so advanced in this day and age in so many ways, and then these things come up to our consciousness, and we're like, wow, we really.
Well, we're not advanced at all in
Yeah.
so many ways
Yeah.
because, as they say, there's nothing new. It's all the same old stuff reinvented.
Exactly.
And I'm inclined to believe, even on the medical breakthroughs and technology that we have, that information has been received from somewhere. We're tapping into some kind of a universal
Exactly.
consciousness that's ancient. But back to the dowsing, okay? So other than water,
Well, and the other thing that I found is now the use of dowsing has been located for water. However, the physics notion that all objects animated and inanimated project a so-called aura or energy field concedes with some dowsers believe that the art can be used to find most anything: oil, buried treasures, archaeological relics, lost possessions, and even missing bodies, which I have never heard of
amazing.
that. So.
I hadn't either. I know people have used it to go around their house, like if they misplaced a ring or a watch or something, or anything for that matter, where they have gone around with the coat hanger or whatever dowsing rods they have, because you can buy dowsing rods already made, and
Which
go around the
is
house.
probably not necessary.
Since it's all based on energy, I wanted to add one more thing on that. When people would witch or douse for water, okay, that you can tell it. You can actually, with your consciousness, once again showing how it's all connected. Energy is just one continuous thing. That you can always say, now, is it 100 feet down, 50 feet down? And like twitch once for 50, twitch twice for 100. And those rods would actually go like that. That's pretty amazing.
Fascinating.
It is fascinating.
I'm glad you brought that up. I'm glad you, because sometimes people that are new to it, which I would be one of them, would have just said, okay, work for me, and probably be walking all over, all over
Well, all
the
over.
house. But to ask it specific questions is probably a really important tool to use.
Well, wisdom, our human bodies
Exactly.
are the best dowsing rods you can have. You can program yourself.
Amazing.
And like I will say, if the answer is yes, my body goes forward. If the answer is no, my body goes backward. So I will like close my eyes, think of something, and then just relax and go with the motion, the movement, okay? And
I've actually tried that before, and it does work.
And it works.
Yeah.
It totally works. Let's hug. Let's show everybody how we're supposed to hug,
Okay.
okay? Most people hug this way. Oh, Onea, I'm so happy to see you again, right? And this is the better way to hug because it's heart to heart, right? And we do that.
We do that, yes.
And why do we do that?
Because you've told me
Besides that,
that it actually, heart to heart, actually makes us stronger.
strengthens both of us. And you can test it at home with your friends. Kinesiology is something that's an ancient art, also used by now even ordinary or regular medical doctors.
Yeah.
It used to be alternative medicine doctors used kinesiology, but now even our medical profession is recognizing the value of it. But hold your arm out for me. This is what you do at home. You just say, and I'm going to demonstrate. You push, not like breaking somebody's arm, but you put pressure on there, and they will resist you, not to move it way up here, but just to resist you. So say, my name's Onea.
My name's Onea.
I'm going to put pressure on it, and she's very strong. Now say, my name is Lulubelle.
My name is Lulubelle.
See how weak she just got? Her body responded that was not the truth. And you can try that with anything. Like if you held a cigarette to your abdomen and said, hold your arm out for me, is this good for me?
Is this good for me?
She would get very weak. If it was a particular medication she was on, she would either be strong or get weak, depending on if whatever the medication or vitamins or supplements are.
I like to do that when I'm in the store and I'm wondering if a certain food is good for me,
Right.
or if it's not good for me, because I read the book Eating for Your Blood Type.
I did too. Actually, I started eating for my blood type and gained 50 pounds. No, I'm kidding. I gained 50 pounds because I didn't eat for my blood type. Go ahead.
But just to know what our body is able to receive or resist, and that will tell you every time.
And I do too. I stop people in the aisles and say, would you mind just pushing on my arm for a minute? And, they look at me like I'm out there, but I explain it, and then they will do it.
Well, I've used that technique, but then you had taught me the pendulum. My body's a pendulum, and that actually you can do a little bit more discreetly.
Yeah, you can do it more discreetly. I do want to talk about pendulums, but before I do, let me just also say, speaking of supplements or food or medication of any kind, it might be what is good for you, but perhaps the prescribed amount or directions of the amount isn't good for you. So you can literally like hold one pill to your abdomen and be strong, 2 pills strong, 3 pills you get weak. So it even is a way for you to check to see just the amount that is best for you or not as good for you.
Right.
Okay. Pendulum. What did you want to say about pendulums?
Well, when I was taught by you, and then somebody had brought it up to me again about saying to go into kinesiology,
Right.
say my body's a pendulum, what is my strong yes? And when you stand there and concentrate, you'll either go forward or backwards. Or what's my strong no, forward or backwards. So you'll know what your strong yes is, what your strong no is.
Okay.
Or what is my maybe.
Oh.
And when I do it, my maybe goes to the side. So when I am testing something and I don't need somebody to muscle test me, I will do that, and I'll hold the product to myself, and then I'll ask, is this good for me? Like 1 dose, 2 dose, 3 dose? And
Why would you even need a maybe? Isn't the whole point
yeah,
to get a yes or
I don't
a
know
no?
why she told me about maybe,
Yeah.
but
If it's a
yeah.
maybe, I can figure that out for
exactly.
myself.
So
Disregard the maybe.
maybe part.
Stick with the yes or
yes.
no.
So
okay?
strong yes, strong no, and you will literally either go forward or you'll go backwards. And it's interesting, and I have tested a few things on that, and it works. Mm-hmm.
And it works for you, just like the dowsing does. But have you heard of fracking?
Mm-mm.
I just learned about fracking last night, and what it is, and the reason this even came up in conversation
I like
last
the
night.
word though.
Well, who'd come up with it? It's called fracking or horizontal drilling. Now, who would name? I mean,
that could go in many
well,
directions.
I mean, who would name something fracking and horizontal drilling? But those are
the same things.
They're the actual terms. And the reason it came up is in the conversation I was having last night was because of the earthquake they had in Oklahoma.
Okay.
That was felt all the way to Kansas,
Okay.
you know, Arkansas, all around the close by neighboring states.
Fracking or horizontal drilling?
Well, I'm going to explain it.
Okay. Please do.
And we actually had a little bit of an earthquake in our area
Yes,
not
we
too
did.
long ago. So, not that we're not on a fault line.
Right.
We are, and so obviously are these areas. However, they've not had reported earthquakes in who knows how many years, you know, of ever. Fracking is something that's being done, and the horizontal drilling, to find natural gas
Okay.
and oil. And some of them are old mines and old gas shafts and that kind of thing, but underground where they have not explored before, which
Okay.
I'm all for finding our own, you know,
Resources.
natural gas and oil and, yes, our resources in our country. I'm all for that, but there is so much of that going on that it is starting to affect certain areas in the country because the gas fumes are coming out. It's leaking over into the water supply
Okay.
and those kinds of things.
Okay.
But it came up, are we starting to have earthquakes in areas that we normally don't have earthquakes in because of the fracking that's going on looking for these natural resources?
Interesting.
Yeah.
That, I mean, that could be definitely up for debate because what we've talked about with the world and the planets are aligning and shifting,
Right.
that could be
Right.
part of it, but
And I'm all for the U.S. becoming independent
yes, definitely.
of other sources. It's, you know, a little bit out of control as it is. But it is food for thought, and
Definitely.
it would be
I had
worth
never heard of it.
researching. So,
Yeah.
well, there you go. Now you've heard of fracking.
Fracking and
Okay, fracking and horizontal drilling.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's talk about our pendulum thing. What did you want to say about that?
Not much.
Not much?
Not much. I don't know much about it other than what I've read and, you know, just the body being a pendulum.
A human pendulum, yeah.
Yeah.
A pendulum is, you can use anything. You can buy pendulums that are usually a crystal on a string, but you can use like your necklace if it's got a
Okay.
little weight at the end, anything. If you're a natural kind of energy conductor, you can use just about anything.
Okay.
Hey, the oldest pendulum would be the pencil on the string over the
Yes.
pregnant tummy.
Okay.
Is it a boy? Is it a girl?
Yes,
That's a
I've done that.
pendulum. Okay, so you can use just about
And it
anything.
doesn't have to be anything special or
Right.
blessed or
Right.
anything
No,
like that.
although you can buy, like I say, pendulums that are already
Yeah,
made
sure,
up.
there's a market for everything.
Right. But the point being, hey, if you're a conductor, you can use anything.
Interesting.
Now, people use pendulums a lot. You know, should I go to Hawaii? Should I go to the Bahamas? Should I do
Ooh,
this?
I'm going to do that tonight.
Well,
Especially now that we got our second
snow,
snow
or a
this
little
week.
bit of snow on the ground. And again, you could use your body, or you could use a pendulum, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's called radionics. That's
Okay.
the official name for using pendulums.
Okay.
Radionics. I'm not a personal fan.
Of what?
pendulums.
Okay.
Other than my own human body pendulum. Okay.
But to get
and
answers.
And I love kinesiology
Yes.
because it's your own body
Right.
reacting to
Right.
things. Okay. I'm not a fan because I am sometimes so, and I'll clarify in a minute. Because the subconscious mind, even if you think you're not attached to a certain outcome or a certain answer, the subconscious will influence the outcome or the answer
Right.
of that. Okay.
Right. So if you're hoping for that promotion at the job, you
And
will.
you say, "Will I get this promotion?"
Yeah.
And
Gotcha.
you know, and you say to yourself, "What? I don't really care. I don't care if I get it or don't get
Yeah.
it. I like what
Which
I'm
is-
doing."
yeah.
Right. But that would be an example. The subconscious. But what if you were asking for somebody else
Well,
a question?
it depends on how emotionally attached I would be to you if you were the one asking me to ask the question.
Right.
Of course, I'm emotionally
Are you emotionally attached?
I'm
Yeah.
emotionally attached. Yeah.
Well, in other words, yes. Most of us have some attachment, but even if it were a total stranger, there would be a little bit of a subconscious influence that would make that pendulum answer the way you would want it to. Now, a good place to use it, however, if this was a map and somebody said, would I thrive in Texas or would I thrive in Arizona? Okay, you can actually douse a map.
Okay.
Or if I'm looking for, that hidden gold mine, if I'm looking for this or that,
Ooh.
you can douse a map and in that instance, trust it. Because it's a whole different object, and if you had no clue, I've done it for friends that wanted to move to different
Okay.
parts of the country.
That would be fun just to do.
Just to do
Just
and
to
see where
yeah.
you would do best. And in that instance, I think it works fairly well. But other than that, it makes me even a little bit sad for people that use it to help them come up with answers. When
Yeah.
I personally feel like, your subconscious is influencing
Right.
it.
Which our thoughts are powerful,
Exactly.
as we've talked about, and it just goes to show that it will affect your pendulum too.
Your whole pendulum. Have you ever made dowsing rods?
Well, yes, I have, and it didn't really work for me, but not that I discount it, because when we were kids growing up, we had property, and we used, not myself, but somebody used this to find our well,
Right.
and it did find our well.
And it was a professional. Was it somebody who did it all the time?
I think so.
A professional
yeah,
witcher?
somebody that knew
They
how to do it.
actually have people who are professionals at this. And because they're conductors.
They're conductors. Okay.
It's like a fence, let's say a metal fence. Why does some electricity run along a metal fence but not a wooden fence? It's the conductor,
Okay.
the energy. Okay, so the person that's a better conductor of energy often is a professional witcher. They're
Right.
hired for those things.
Well, he obviously knew what he was doing, because we had a wonderful well where we were from, and
Good water.
good water. It was sweet. It was clean. It was nice.
And sometimes, as they say, the well runs dry. And we actually have had some wells out in our part of the country around here that have gone dry.
I've heard that.
But
Which
they
is too
hire
bad.
someone to do just that and say, how many more feet do we need to go to hit more
Which
water?
is fascinating with the technology that we supposedly have to
Right.
find these things, and,
Right.
and we could and hire somebody that can do that.
Well, Onea, what you said here I think is fascinating. I did not know that. That
The Egyptians and
it was before a language, before a written language, these tools were used.
that's amazing.
I think so too. I think it's very amazing, very interesting.
We limit our thinking so much when
Right.
we have these tools to find things or to get answers for things. It's really amazing, and I think that's the point of our show, is to open people's minds to other ways of thinking
Well, we disregard everything because of our technology. We always
Yeah.
think, well, it's new and improved, or
It
it's
must be
better.
right.
Yeah, it's computerized. It's this, it's that. When really, I'm telling you, and it is wonderful. Don't
It serves its purpose.
right, but in a lot of ways, I think it has kind of limited us and slowed us down. So,
Definitely.
you know, a lot of people say, let's get back to the basics.
Yeah.
Well, if I had the money, I'd buy a farm and I'd raise chickens. I
Yeah.
don't think I'd milk the cow. I'd get somebody else to do that. But you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Back to
definitely.
healthy food. Our nutrition value is gone in our soil and all of that. But I just love this, and I have made my own, you know, rods out of coat hangers.
How has it worked for you?
Very well. They
Okay.
come together instead of like going down like
Okay.
like a
That's
roll.
another way to read it, is if they cross.
Exactly.
Over
They
the
either
kinda-
spread apart or come together like this, so it doesn't go downward.
Right.
It reacts differently, the metal.
And it's real easy to make. Just to
Easy to make.
snip your coat hangers in half and then put a little bend on them and hold them like,
like a hanger,
yeah.
like a handle. I mean,
like a handle,
and
yeah.
you can't buy metal hangers anymore. You're going to have to take something to the cleaners.
Oh,
Or
you're right.
ask the cleaners
You're
if you could buy a couple of hangers to do it. But it'd be fun for people to try and make it at home and email
And
us.
just
Let us know
Email us and let us know how it works.
how it worked and see if you can find our show. If it comes together like this, you found our show. If it's apart, it's somebody else's show, okay? But we have a good time, and I hope you all find what we talk about interesting. We always like our own stuff, don't we? Oh, I just touched you. The reason I bring that up is because my son said, during a show, he watched the show, and he said, you touch Onea too much. And so then, last month's show, I touched you more than any other show, and it's because he planted that seed in my mind. But I did. I was constantly touching you. So I thought to myself, now this show, I'm not going to do it. I'm a toucher. I can't help it.
I
I'm
don't
a
mind. I don't mind.
We're so glad. Well, you can touch me too.
Okay.
And hope you guys enjoyed our show, because
That's
that's what we're talking about.